Hello, sound's working.
Hello, sounds working. Hello.
Getting a hobby is harder than we think, but easier than it seems. Hey there, friends. Welcome to today's episode and podcast. We're going to talk about pursuits, hobbies, and mastery because it's Friday. My name's Toby. I'm 41 years old and I train to live an active, self-sufficient, and adventurous life. I do so by minding my sleep. I try to sleep between 7 and 9 hours in a night. I do so by minding what I eat. I try to eat within my energy balance, try to eat a lot of greens, try to eat sufficient proteins for my strength and muscle building goals. I try to show up for training. I try to do strength training, conditioning training, endurance training, HIIT training, mobility training, low intensity steady state cardio, a mix of training to stay generally fit, healthy and capable for life and living. If that's something you're interested in, then probably in the right place, because today we're going to talk about health, fitness and longevity, or in this podcast, that's actually what we talk about. On Mondays we talk about sleep, on Tuesdays we talk about food, Wednesdays we talk about movement, Thursdays we talk about connection, on Friday we talk about mastery, on Saturday we talk about motivation, and on Sunday we reflect on the week. We have about 15 minutes and then I'm going to go out for a slow walk, stroll around the block, so to speak. And that is going to be the start of my day. I always talk about three things in this podcast. I talk about today's training because I'm just done with today's set of exercise. It takes me about 30 minutes when I wake up. Then we're going to talk about today's topic, which is pursuits or hobbies, or how to get a hobby or find something that we enjoy doing and why that's important. And then we're going to talk about one small change. So that puts us in the realm of, give or take, 10 small changes today, because on Saturday and Sunday we actually don't have some trouble getting the coffee off the hob there. It got stuck. On Saturday and Sunday I don't advise on little changes that we can make, but we talk about the bigger picture of things that we want to pursue and accomplish in terms of our health and fitness for living. Seems like the coffee pot just keeps boiling as we have already poured out some of the coffee there. We'll just take a sip of the coffee and we're going to get started. That always tastes good in the morning, especially after a workout with the birds singing in the background. All right, friends. So, what do we need to talk about today? First of all, if you're watching, go ahead, hit like, subscribe. It helps the algorithm, it helps me grow the channel. We've hit 1,200 subscribers. That's great. Thanks to everyone who's dropped by, said hi, and left that like and hit subscribe for more. I appreciate that. And thanks for being interested in what I have to say and being along with me on this journey. I've heard a couple of fun and interesting success stories over time, and I hope that that we can collect more as this goes on. Today's training, I did kettlebell, light, and every minute on the minute circuit, 5 different exercises, full body. So I did push-ups without kettlebells. We did squats, we did overhead presses, did rows, did deadlifts, lightweight 8 kilos because I'm still recovering from a back injury, but it is training nonetheless. So it comes more into the realm of strength and conditioning. And it's about 30 to 40 seconds of work, 20 seconds of rest every set. 5 times, repeat 6 times, total of 30 minutes. I feel really good about it, but that's probably also because I slept close to 8 hours last night. And I've just noticed that the closer I get to 8 hours of sleep, the better I function throughout the day. So that's also worth keeping in mind. All right, so today's training was good. Now I'm just going to go move around in a bit. I'm going to go for about a 45-minute walk in about 10 minutes time, because then the 15 minutes for the podcast are up. And that's going to be the start of my day in terms of movement and activity, and everything else that comes after in the day is a plus. I do this, by the way, in this routine because this works for me in my current schedule. I am not under the misconception that waking up at 5 o'clock or at 4:30 a.m. and doing all of this stuff is going to make me rich, powerful, and successful. Okay, I do that because it is literally the only 2 hours in the day I can find where I have the energy and focus, and where I'm not focused on either work or family. Okay, so just keep that in the back of our minds. So let's talk about pursuits and hobbies, or mastery, right? Because we talked about this last week very briefly, about how important it is that we actually find things that we enjoy doing, just for the sake of doing them. And I think every man needs to have a pursuit or a hobby in their life. Every woman, every person needs to have a pursuit or a hobby in their life. Something we do because we intrinsically enjoy the activity of sitting down. We get into a state of flow where we're so focused on the activity that time seems to fly by, that actually we lose the concept of where we are, when we are, how we are, because we're so focused on the task at hand. And by the end of it, we actually don't feel tired, but we feel satisfied. Okay? And that state of flow, of focus, of engagement with the moment, right, is absolutely vital for our health and well-being, right? Because there are relatively few moments throughout our day, throughout our week, throughout our year, where we are actually 100% present in the moment, able to do something that we enjoy and love and care about, something that we are doing just for the sake of our own joy and pleasure. So this could be, I know some people who build Legos for a hobby, and they have these big sets and they can sit for an hour or two and just slowly piece them together without taking a break. There are people who enjoy drawing. There are people who enjoy making music, right? Making music alone, practice, or making music with a band, with an orchestra. There are people who enjoy creative writing, like I do, who just like to sit down and put words on paper, who write haikus, who spend some time on that, who do flower arrangements, who enjoy painting or photography or filmmaking, who enjoy gardening. And there are all kinds of activities, and you can tell by the types of activities that I'm listing that I'm not listing things like sports or games, video games, those kinds of things. This is about making something, not entertaining ourselves. This is about being creative, about expressing ourselves in a particular fashion, mode, or way. And the reason this is so healthy is probably because we're doing it for ourselves, for the reason that we actually enjoy doing it. And it allows us to bring together different aspects of our being, right? So fine motor skills, if we're drawing with a very fine pencil, or painting with a very fine brush, or putting together very small pieces of Legos or something mechanically, or wood carving something, or putting together a bench or a chair while woodworking, right? Bringing together our motor skills with our focus, with our strength, with our dexterity. That combination of activities actually helps us, first of all, develop some focus maybe, but second of all, forget the world around us for a bit. And I think it's so important that we have that thing that we can do that disconnects us from the world, that disconnects us from everything that's going on in life, where we're not being barraged with questions, requests for information, being given information, being told what to think, being told what to do, but where we can actually just be with ourselves on our own. And sometimes we do these hobbies in groups, right? Sometimes we go to a painting class for an hour, because we don't always have to do these things alone, but we do them on our own. There's no requirement to do them together, usually. But we can go to a painting class, so there's a social component there, and we've talked about making friends and meeting people, and we'll talk more about that in the weeks to come. But we're there, and we're learning something and applying that, and actually engaging with the moment, with people around us who are also focused on their own canvas, but doing something that they enjoy, and focused on their own work as well. So being able to forget the world around us, being able to be in the moment, being able to sit with ourselves and understand our skill, but also see our skill develop, grow, and improve over time. And I think learning that there are things that we can learn to be good at, that we can learn skills through time investment, proper tutoring, and deliberate practice, is a very valuable lesson for life. But more importantly than that, when things go wrong in our relationships, when things go wrong in our friendships, when things go wrong in our work, when life turns against us in other areas, one of the things that makes us resilient to changes and adversity is experience and knowledge about the fact that we as people, as a person, are capable of learning new things, of dealing with frustration, of ineptitude, of maybe feelings of incapacity, but working through those and seeing the results of what comes out of that. So having hobbies is not only good for us as something to do, as a pastime, as opposed to, for example, watching TV or scrolling on our phones, but it's also going to help us when life turns against us, when we encounter adversity. Because if we don't have a sense of accomplishment, of growth, of learning, of pride in something that we can do and can fall back on, then we're going to feel it might amplify the negative emotions of the moment. But if we can fall back on emotions and experiences that are empowering, that show us that we are capable and good at things, then that's going to help us actually step up and meet the moment and the challenge, and maybe work through it more effectively and to better results. Because my 41 years, I can tell you, there will be a lot of small moments of adversity, and probably one or two, in my case there have been 5 or 6 large moments of adversity that we need to work through to come out a better person on the other end. And I've always had things that I enjoyed doing for the sake of doing them, and I cannot express how much those things have actually helped me, how much my relationships have helped me, how much my optimism has helped me, but that's a different story altogether. For today, just remember that it is important for us to have something that we do for the sake of doing it, and that we should make a point out of incorporating that into our day or weekly rhythm, simply for the sake of having that experience, because it's good for us. So one small change that we can make in light of that insight, right? In light of the insight that we need to be able to do something that is that we do for the sake of doing it, to have a hobby or a pursuit that is going to help us develop, perseverance, focus, and also help disconnect us from the day-to-day and the stresses of the day-to-day. So I want you to think about things that you have enjoyed throughout your life, and I want you to pick one thing and give it a try. So that could be going out into the garden with a shovel and a pail or a rake and just doing a few minutes of gardening, or that could be sitting down with a pen and a piece of paper and sketching or putting words to paper. That could be finding a small piece of wood and a small wood carving knife or a sharp knife and whittling away at it. Or that could be doing some woodwork in terms of trying to create a construction where by which a table is built, where you drill a hole, drive a pen through it to connect two components to each other. These are all little examples of things that we could do by buying some flowers and arranging them in a vase until you think they look absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. There are many different things that we can do, but I would like you to pick one that you think you might enjoy and give it a try once or twice this week. And by giving it a try, you're going to get some feedback. First of all, you're going to see, well, do I really enjoy this or not? But the second thing is you're going to be confronted with maybe some ineptitude and lack of capacity and capability. That is going to show you how much you still have to learn and grow in this skill or ability. And you have a choice to make. You have a choice to make to see, well, do I like this enough to want to go through this and learn? Or is there something that I think I would be more satisfied in learning? Folding origami is another good example of something that we can just focus on and do. And these are things that we can do 30 minutes in a week, right? So it doesn't have to be hours and hours. But it is just something that distracts us and puts us in a different mindset and mind frame. So pick one small thing that you would like to learn or do. Set aside some time and give it a try. And try to find a time that probably is going to be easy for you to get back to week after week after week. Friends, that's all I have for you today. Thanks for dropping by in my podcast on health, fitness, and longevity. Remember that we're good just the way we are. We've got to love ourselves before we can move on. It's the person we are today that's going to get us to where we want to be tomorrow. So a bit of kindness is going to go a long way, all right? And remember, the only way to get anything done is by showing up and doing the work. If you've been here, you've enjoyed the conversation, go ahead, hit like, subscribe, share the podcast with someone who you think might be interested in it. And I hopefully will see you tomorrow for a talk about motivation and how that works. And remember, friends, subscribe.